Rewriting NAFTA, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, kicking off a face-to-face negotiation in Washington yesterday, weighing in on the trade agreement between the United States and Mexico that could potentially overhaul or even terminate the three-country NAFTA pact. Freeland praising Mexico's trade concessions on autos and labor rights, but still hesitant to strike a deal ahead of Friday's looming deadline. Yesterday, I spoke with Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, who said the U.S. is moving forward with or without Canada.
This deal is pretty well put together with Mexico. So the president, as he's indicated, is fully prepared to go ahead with or without Canada. We hope that Canada will come in. I think it's a good idea if they do. There's really not much they should object to, but if not, they will then have to be treated as a real outsider.
But U.S. lawmakers warning congressional approval that a deal without Canada could be a major uphill battle. A great story, great coverage in the Wall Street Journal, as always. John, what are your expectations based on what you're hearing?
So on this last point, you just had Wilbur Ross saying that, we're going to do this without Canada. It's not clear that Congress will do this without Canada. So in order to get what's known as fast-track approval for the president to be able to get a deal through Congress with a simple majority rather than 60 votes, it needs to be 3 countries in the agreement and not 2. In other words, this might not meet the fast-track requirements that Congress has set out. So it's not clear Congress will do that for these technical reasons. But also, there are a lot of farm states, a lot of northern states that want to do business with China. They don't Canada. They don't want to see Canada isolated from this. So this could be a test of the president's clout with Congress, and it's also the politics align, interestingly, here, because he's going to need Democrats to do this, and we'll have to see if there are any Democrats who are willing to work with him. Ironically, this deal tilts very much towards labor. This is a very labor-friendly deal.
I said that yesterday, and this is the steel and aluminum tariffs. That's a handout to the steel workers union in the United States, and this is certainly a handout to labor. They were working closely in putting together this deal with Mexico with Democrats. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of. What were you going to say, John? You finish, then I'll get to you, Marie.
Well, I was going to say, these are right off the talking points of Democrats in the 1990s. They always complained that, the trade deals we were doing didn't give enough labor rights in the countries that we were negotiating with. This, requires stronger union rules in Mexico.
But still, it does put some pressure on Democrats, and the question is, particularly if it gets kicked into the next Congress, if the Democrats win the control of the House, in particular in November, would any Democrats step up, even if it's good policy, would they step up and vote alongside something that President Trump put together?
Possibly, because trade is one of these issues that Donald Trump has sort of upended the partisan lines, as we've traditionally seen. You now have someone like Jerry Moran, a senator from Kansas, who's been quite critical, actually, of some of the recent trade announcements. Someone like Sherrod Brown, a Democrat from Ohio, who actually is gettable on this. And not just because he's up for re-election this year. I genuinely think he believes in some of the things in this trade deal. The interesting thing, Dagan,
he's also very close with Lighthizer.
Well, Lighthizer, as the Wall Street Journal editorial page said yesterday, quietly courted Sherrod Brown.
Exactly. So he's an example of someone in one of these Midwestern states, a Democrat, who might be open to this. The interesting thing about Friday's deadline is it's really a self-imposed deadline because it's tied to the change in the Mexican government. So if they don't get it done by Friday, they can still negotiate. And the new Mexican government coming in 3 months has indicated they are on board with the Mexican trade deal. Now, sometimes it's different when you actually take office, but even if they miss Friday's deadline, they can keep negotiating. There'll just be some more diplomacy that has to be done. Friday's not make or break here, and I think putting an artificial deadline up and maybe failing because of that
Canada has the potential to play here. Can they look at this and say, listen, we have leverage with Congress. We're not going to get rushed into doing a deal we don't want to do.
Because Mexico has a new government. Right.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that the markets are applauding what's happening. If you go back to when originally the NAFTA deals broke down, it was Canada and Mexico are going to do a deal without us. America's going to be left out in the fray. And guess what happens? Mexico aligned with with the one country in the G7 that said no trade tariffs, let's take down all the barriers, and that's the United States. And Donald Trump said that to the G7, and he really called out Trudeau. And Trudeau, after that, kind of looked a little frail because he was speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He's like, we want free markets, except when it comes to our markets, especially when it comes to culture.
This president doesn't want no trade barriers.
No, I know that. There's no such thing. Listen, there's no such thing as free trade. There's only managed trade, and we know that because of all of the crony capitalism that's put into these trade agreements. But guess what's happening? Mexico came along. They've worked with the United States, and Canada doesn't really have a choice when it comes to this matter. They've got a historical record of closing their markets. Even when it came to TPP, they were only going to open up poultry and dairy 5%.
Just a couple of things. That Canada made some missteps in how it was handling these trade negotiations with the United States. U.S. officials, the Journal writes today, blame Canada for stalling negotiations. Right. And they were lobbying, Canadian officials were lobbying members of Congress directly and state-level lawmakers. So, again, trying to do an end around.
A lot of this is personal. And then there's Trump and Trudeau. Trump was offended by the way Trudeau treated him in Canada after he left Canada. So a lot of the friction between U.S. and Canada right now are personal.
But again, it comes down to what is good for the United States, what is good for businesses. And I have pointed out the fact that President Trump, when he's on the campaign trail, he brags about the tariffs on steel and how great that is for the steel industry. Well, it helps the few and potentially hurts the many in terms for industries that use steel. And he brags about the tariffs paying down the debt,
which is false. That's just, you can't. We're not paying down the debt. The debt is going, is increasing by $1 trillion a year. But I think we have to call this what it is, which is kind of increased government oversight of the business sector. We're talking about more fine-tuning, for instance, of how autos get made, what the labor content is in every auto that we consume here. So,
which is the reverse,
let's call it what it is.
Which is the reverse of what President Trump ran on in some ways, and is the reverse of what they've done in rolling back regulations on other businesses.